Hello, and welcome back to Baby Elias's stories. We now return to Men at Arms by Terry Pratchett. Part 18. A match flared. In the sewers, its light was like a nova. Vimes lit first his cigar, then a lamp. "Dr. Cruces," he said. The chief of assassins froze. "Corporal Carrot here has a crossbow too," he said. "I'm not sure if he'd use it. He's a good man. He thinks everyone else is a good man. I'm not. I'm mean, nasty, and tired. And now, Doctor, you've had time to think. You're an intelligent man. What were you doing down here, please?" "It can't be to look for the mortal remains of young Edward, because our Corporal Nobbs has taken him off to the watch morgue this morning, probably nicking any small items of personal jewellery he had on him. But that's just Nobby's way. He's got a criminal mind, has our Nobby. But I'll say this for him. He hasn't got a criminal soul." "I hope he's cleaned the clown makeup off the poor chap. Dear me, you used him, didn't you? He killed poor old Biano, and then he got the gun. And he was there when it killed Hammerhawk. He even left a bit of his Biano wig at the timbers. And just when he could have done with some good advice, such as to turn himself in, you killed him. The point, the interesting point, is that young Edward couldn't have been the man on the tower a little while ago. Not with the stab wound in his heart and everything. I know that being dead isn't always a barrier to quiet enjoyment in this city, but I don't think young Edward has been up and about much. The piece of cloth was a nice touch. But, you know, I've never believed in that stuff. Footprints in the flower bed, telltale buttons, stuff like that. People think that stuff's policing. It's not. Policing's luck and slog, most of the time. But lots of people believe it. I mean, he's been dead, what, not 2 days? And it's nice and cool down here. You could haul him up. I dare say you could fool people who didn't look too close once he was on a slab. And you'd have got the man who shot the patrician. Mind you, half the city would be fighting the other half by then, I dare say. Some more deaths would be involved. I wonder if you'd care." He paused. "You still haven't said anything." "You have no understanding," said Cruces. "Yes?" "Death was right. He was mad, but he was right." "And what about Dr. Cruces?" said Vimes. And then the assassin was gone, diving into a shadow. "Oh no," said Vimes. A whisper echoed around the man-made cavern. "Captain Vimes, one thing a good assassin learns is..." There was a thunderous explosion, and the lamp disintegrated. "Never stand near the light." Vimes hit the floor and rolled. Another shot hit a foot away. Bing! And he felt the splash of cold water. There was water under him too. The Ankh was rising, and, in accordance with laws older than those of the city, The water was finding its way back up the tunnels. "Carrot," Vimes whispered. "Yes." The voice came from somewhere in the pitch blackness to his right. "I can't see a thing. I lost my night vision lighting that damn lamp. I lost my night vision lighting that damn lamp. I can feel water coming in." Vimes began, and stopped as he formed a mental picture of the hidden cruces aiming at a patch of sound. "I should have shot him first," he thought. "He's an assassin." He had to raise himself slightly to keep his face out of the rising water. Then he heard a gentle splashing. Cruces was walking towards them. There was a scratching noise, and then light. Cruces had lit a torch, and Vimes looked up to see the skinny shape in the glow. His other hand was steadying the gun. Something Vimes had learned as a young guard drifted up from memory. If you have to look along the shaft of an arrow from the wrong end, if a man has you entirely at his mercy, then hope like hell that man is an evil man, because the evil like power over people, and they want to see you in fear. They want you to know you're going to die. So they'll talk. They'll gloat. They'll watch you squirm. They'll put off the moment of murder like another man will put off a good cigar. So hope like hell your captor is an evil man. A good man will kill you with hardly a word. Then, to his everlasting horror, he heard Carrot stand up. "Dr. Cruces, I arrest you for the murder of Bjorn Hammerhawk, Edward Death, Bjarno the Clown, Leptis Nibs, and acting Constable Cuddy of the City Watch." "Dear me, all those?" "I'm afraid Edward killed Brother Bjarno. That was his own idea. The little fool, he said he hadn't meant to. And I understand that Hammerhawk was killed accidentally. A freak accident. He poked around, and the charge fired, and the slug bounced off his anvil and killed him. That's what Edward said. He came to see me afterwards. He was very upset. Made a clean breast of the whole thing, you know. So I killed him. Well, what else could I do? He was quite mad. There is no dealing with that sort of person. May I suggest you step back, sire? I prefer not to shoot you. No, not unless I have to." It seemed to Vimes that Cruces was arguing with himself. The gun swung violently. "He was babbling," said Cruces. "He said the gun killed the Hammerhawk. I said it was an accident, and he said no accident. The gun killed the Hammerhawk." Carrot took another step forward. Cruces seemed to be in his own world now. "No! The gun killed the beggar girl too! It wasn't me! Why should I do a thing like that?" Cruces took a step back, but the gun swung up towards Carrot. It looked to Vimes as though it moved of its own accord, like an animal sniffing the air. "Get down!" Vimes hissed. He reached out and tried to fire his crossbow. "He said the gun was jealous. Hammerhawk would have made more guns. Stop where you are!" Carrot took another step. "I had to kill Edward. He was romantic. He would have got it wrong. But Ankh-Morpork needs a king." The gun jerked and fired at the same moment as Carrot leapt sideways. The tunnels were brilliant with smells. Mostly the acrid yellows and earthy oranges of ancient drains, and there were hardly any air currents to disturb things. The line that was Cruces snaked through the heavy air, and there was the smell of the gone, as vivid as a wound. I smelled gone in the guild, she thought, just after Cruces walked past, and Gaspard said that was all right, because the gone had been in the guild, but it hadn't been fired in the guild. I smelled it because someone there had fired the thing. She splashed through the water into the big cavern and saw, with her nose, the three of them, the indistinct figure that smelled of Vimes, the falling figure that was Carrot, the turning shape with the gone. And then she stopped thinking with her head and let her body take over. Wolf muscle drove her forward and up into a leap, water droplets flying from her mane, her eyes fixed on Cruces' neck. The gun fired 4 times. It didn't miss once. She hit the man heavily, knocking him backwards. Vimes rose in an explosion of spray. 6 shots! That's 6 shots, you bastard! I've got you now! Cruces turned as Vimes waded towards him and scurried towards a tunnel, throwing up more spray. Vimes snatched the bow from Carrot, aimed desperately, and pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. Carrot! You idiot! You never cocked the damn thing! Vimes turned. Come on, man! We can't let him get away! It's Angua, Captain. What? She's dead. Carrot, listen. Can you find the way out in this stuff? No, so come with me. I can't leave her here. Corporal Carrot, follow me. Vimes half ran, half waded through the rising water towards the tunnel that had swallowed Cruces. It was up a slope. He could feel the water dropping as he ran. Never give the quarry time to rest. He'd learned that on his first day in the watch. If you had to chase, then stay with it. Give the pursued time to stop and think, and you'd go round a corner to find a sock full of sand coming the other way. The walls and ceiling were closing in. There were other tunnels here. Carrot had been right. Hundreds of people must have worked for years to build this. What Ankh-Morpork was built on was Ankh-Morpork. Vimes stopped. There was no sound of splashing and tunnel mouths all around. Then there was a flash of light up a side of tunnel. Vimes scrambled towards it and saw a pair of legs in a shaft of light from an open trapdoor. He launched himself at them and caught a boot just as it was disappearing into the room above. It kicked at him and he heard Cruces hit the floor. Vimes grabbed the edge of the hatchway and struggled through it. It wasn't a tunnel. It looked like a cellar. He slipped on mud and hit a wall, clammy with slime. What was Ankh-Morpork built on? Right. Cruces was only a few yards away, scrambling and slipping up a flight of steps. There had been a door at the top, but it had long ago rotted. There were more steps and more rooms, fire and flood and rebuilding. Rooms had become cellars, cellars had become foundations. It wasn't an elegant pursuit. Both men slithered and fell, clambered up again, fought their way through hanging curtains of slime. Cruces had left candles here and there. They gave just enough light to make Vimes wish they didn't. And then there was dry stone underfoot. And this wasn't a door, but a hole knocked through a wall, and there were barrels and sticks of furniture, ancient stuff that had been locked up and forgotten. Cruces was lying a few feet away, fighting for breath and hammering another rack of pipes into the gun. Vimes managed to pull himself up onto his hands and knees and gulped air. There was a candle wedged into the wall nearby. God, You, he panted. Cruces tried to get to his feet, still clutching the gun. You're too old to run, Vimes managed. Cruces made it upright and lurched away. Vimes thought about it. I'm too old to run, he added, and leapt. The two men rolled in the dust, the gun between them. It struck Vimes much later that the last thing any man of sense would do was fight an assassin. They had concealed weapons everywhere, but Cruces wasn't going to let go of the gun. He held it grimly in both hands, trying to hit Vimes with the barrel or the butt. Curiously enough, assassins learned hardly any unarmed combat. They were generally good enough at armed combat not to need it. Gentlemen bore arms, only the lower classes used their hands. I've got you, Vimes panted. You're under arrest. Be under arrest, will you? But Cruces wouldn't let go. Vimes didn't dare let go. The gun would be twisted out of his grip. It was pulled backwards and forwards between them in desperate grunting concentration. The gun exploded. Poof! There was a tongue of red fire, a firework stink, and a zing-zing noise from 3 walls. Something struck Vimes's helmet, bing, and zigged away towards the ceiling. Vimes stared at Cruces' contorted features. Then he lowered his head and yanked the gun hard. The assassin screamed and let go, clutching at his nose. Vimes rolled back, gun in both hands. It moved. Suddenly the stock was against his shoulder and his finger was on the trigger. You're mine. We don't need him anymore. The shock of the voice was so great that he cried out, "Hurrah!" He swore afterwards that he didn't pull the trigger. It moved of its own accord, pulling his finger with it. The gun slammed into his shoulder and a 6-inch hole appeared in the wall by the assassin's head, spraying him with plaster. Poof. Vimes was vaguely aware, through the red mist rising around his vision, of Cruces staggering to a door and lurching through it. Vimes was vaguely aware, through the red mist rising around his vision, of Cruces staggering to a door and lurching through it, slamming it behind him. All that you hate, all that is wrong, I can put it right. Vimes reached the door and tried the handle. It was locked. He brought the gun around, not aware of thinking, and let the trigger pull his finger again. A large area of the door and frame became a splinter-bordered hole. Vimes kicked the rest of it away and followed the gun. He was in a passageway. A dozen young men were looking at him in astonishment from half-open doors. They were all wearing black. He was inside the Assassin's Guild. A trainee assassin looked at Vimes with his nostrils. Who are you, pray? The gun swung towards him. Vimes managed to hold the barrel upwards just as it fired, and the shot took away a lot of ceiling. The law, you sons of bitches! He shouted. They stared at him. Shoot them all. Clean up the world. Shut up! Vimes, a red-eyed, dust-coated, slime-dripping thing from out of the earth, glared at the quaking student. Where did Cruces go? The mist rolled around his head. His hand creaked with the effort of not firing. The young man jerked a finger urgently towards a flight of stairs. He'd been standing very close when the gun fired. Plaster dust draped him like devil's dandruff. The gun sped away again, dragging Vimes past the boys and up the stairs, where black mud still trailed. There was another corridor there. Doors were opening, Doors closed again after the gong fired again, smashing a chandelier. The corridor gave out on to a wide landing at the top of a much more impressive flight of stairs, and opposite, a big oaken door. Vimes shot the lock off, poof, kicked at the door, and then fought the gong long enough to duck. A crossbow bolt whirred over his head and hit someone far down the corridor. Shoot him! Shoot him! Cruces was standing by his desk, feverishly trying to slot another bolt into his bow. Vimes tried to silence the singing in his ears. But why not? Why not fire? Who was this man? He'd always wanted to make the city a cleaner place. He might as well start here, and then people would find out what the law was. Clean up the world. Noon started. The cracked bronze bell in the Teachers' Guild began the chime, and had midday all to itself for at least 7 clangs before the Guild of Bakers' clock, running fast, caught up with it. Cruces straightened up and began to edge towards the cover of one of the stone pillars. "You can't shoot me," he said, watching the gong. "I know the law, and so do you. You're a guard. You can't shoot me in cold blood." Vimes squinted along the barrel. It'd be so easy. The trigger tugged at his finger. A third bell began chiming. "You can't just kill me. That's the law. And you're a guard," Dr. Cruces repeated. He licked his dry lips. The barrel lowered a little. Cruces almost relaxed. "Yes, I am a guard." The barrel rose again, pointed at Cruces' forehead. "But when the bells stop," said Vimes quietly, "I won't be a guard anymore." "Shoot him! Shoot him!" Vimes forced the butt under his arm so that he had one free hand. "We'll do it by the rules," he said. "By the rules. Got to do it by the rules." Without looking down, he tugged his badge off the remains of his jacket. Even through the mud, it still had a gleam. He'd always kept it polished. When he spun it once or twice like a coin, the copper caught the light. Cruces watched it like a cat. The bells were slackening. Most of the towers had stopped. Now there was only the sound of the gong on the Temple of Small Gods and the bells of the Assassins' Guild, which were always fashionably late. The gong stopped. Dr. Cruces put the crossbow neatly and meticulously on the desk beside him. "There! I've put it down!" "Ah," said Vimes, "but I want to make sure you don't pick it up again." The bell of the Assassins' Guild hammered its way to noon and stopped. Silence slammed in like a thunderclap. The little metallic sound as Vimes' badge bounced on the floor filled it from edge to edge. Cling, 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 cling. He raised the gong and gently let the tension ease out of his hand. A bell started. It was a tiny, jolly little tune, barely to be heard at all except in this pool of silence. Cling, bing, a bing, bong. But much more accurate than hourglasses, water clocks and pendulums. "Put down the gong, Captain," said Carrot, climbing slowly up the stairs. He held his sword in one hand and the presentation watch in the other. Bing, bing, a bing ding. Vimes didn't move. Put it down. Put it down now, Captain. I can wait out another bell, said Vimes. A bing, a bing. Can't let you do that, Captain. It'd be murder. Clong, a bing. You'll stop me, will you? Yes. Bing, bing. Vimes turned his head slightly. He killed Angua. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Bing, 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 bing. Carrot nodded. Yes, but personal isn't the same as important. Vimes looked along his arm. The face of Dr. Cruces, mouth open in terror, pivoted on the tip of the barrel. Bing, 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 bing. Captain Vimes? Bing. Captain! Badge 177, Captain! It's never had more than dirt on it. The pounding spirit of the gone flowing up Vimes's arm met the armies of sheer stone-headed Vimesness surging the other way. I should put it down, Captain. You don't need it, said Carrot, like someone speaking to a child. Vimes stared at the thing in his hands. The screaming was muted now. Put that down now, watchman! That's an order! The gun hit the floor. Vimes saluted, and then realized what he was doing. He blinked at Carrot. Personal isn't the same as important, he said. Listen, Cruces said. I'm sorry about the girl. That was an accident, but I only wanted... There's evidence. Cruces was hardly paying any attention to the watchman. He pulled a leather satchel off the table and waved it at them. It's all here. All of it, sire. Evidence. Edward was stupid. He thought it was all crowns and ceremony. He had no idea what he'd found. And then, last night, it was as if... I'm not interested, mumbled Vimes. The city needs a king. It does not need murderers, said Carrot. But... Then Cruces dived for the gun and scooped it up. One moment Vimes was trying to reassemble his thoughts, and the next they were fleeing to far corners of his consciousness. He was looking into the mouth of the gun. It grinned at him. Cruces slumped against the pillar, but the gun remained steady, pointing itself at Vimes. It's all there, sire, he said. Everything written down, the whole thing, birthmarks and prophecies and genealogy and everything, even your sword. It's the sword! Really, said Carrot. May I see it? Carrot lowered his sword, and to Vimes's horror, walked over to the desk and pulled the bundle of documents out of the case. Cruces nodded approvingly, as if rewarding a good boy. Carrot read a page and turned to the next one. This is interesting, he said. Exactly. But now we must remove this annoying policeman, said Cruces. Vimes felt that he could see all the way along the tube to the little slug of metal that was soon to launch itself at him. It's a shame, said Cruces. If only you had... Carrot stepped in front of the gun. His arm moved in a blur. There was hardly a sound. Pray, you never face a good man, Vimes thought. He'll kill you with hardly a word. Cruces looked down. There was blood on his shirt. He raised a hand to the sword hilt protruding from his chest and looked back up into Carrot's eyes. But why? You could have been... And he died. The gun fell from his hands. and fired at the floor. There was silence. Carrot grasped the hilt of his sword and pulled it back. The body slumped. Vimes leaned on the table and fought to get his breath back. Damn. He's hide, he panted. Sir? He called you sire, he said. What was in that? You're late, Captain, said Carrot. Late? Late? What do you mean? Vimes fought to prevent his brain parting company with reality. You were supposed to have been married. Carrot looked at the watch, then snapped it shut and handed it to Vimes. 2 minutes ago. Yes, but he called you sire. I heard him. Just a trick of the echo, I suspect, Mr. Vimes. A thought broke through Vimes's attention. Carrot's sword was a couple of feet long. He'd run Cruces clean through, but Cruces had been standing with his back to... Vimes looked at the pillar. It was granite and a foot thick. There was no cracking. There was just a blade-shaped hole, front to back. Carrot, he began. And you look a mess, sir. Got to get you cleaned up. Carrot pulled the leather satchel towards him and slung it over his shoulder. Carrot. Sir. I order you to give. No, sir. You can't order me because you are now, sir, no offense meant, a civilian. It's a new life. A civilian? Vimes rubbed his forehead. It was all colliding in his brain now. The gun, the sewers, Carrot, and the fact that he'd been operating on pure adrenaline, which soon presents its bill and does not give credit. He sagged. But this is my life. Carrot! This is my job. A hot bath and a drink, sir. That's what you need, said Carrot. Do you a world of good. Let's go. Vimes's gaze took in the fallen body of Cruces, and then the gun. He went to pick it up and stopped himself in time. Not even the wizards had something like this. One burst from a staff, and they had to go and lie down. No wonder no one had destroyed it. You couldn't destroy something as perfect as this. It called out to something deep in the soul. Hold it in your hand, and you had power. More power than any bow or spear. They just stored up your own muscles as power when you thought about it. But the gun gave you power from outside. You didn't use it. It used you. Cruces had probably been a good man. He'd probably listened kindly enough to Edward, and then he'd taken the gun, and he'd belonged to it as well. Captain Vimes, I think we'd better get that out of here, said Carrot, reaching down. Whatever you do, don't touch it, Vimes warned. Why not? It's only a device, said Carrot. He picked up the gun by the barrel, regarded it for a moment, and then smashed it against the wall. Bits of metal pinwheeled away. One of a kind, he said. One of a kind is always special, my father used to say. Let's be going. He opened the door. He shut the door. There's about 100 assassins at the bottom of the stairs, he said. How many bolts have you got for your bow? Said Vimes. He was still staring at the twisted gun. 1. Then it's a good thing you won't have any chances to reload anyway. There was a polite knock at the door. Carrot glanced at Vimes, who shrugged. He opened the door. It was Downey. He raised an empty hand. You can put down your weapons. I assure you they will not be necessary. Where is Dr. Cruces? Carrots pointed. Ah, he glanced up at the two watchmen. Would you please leave his body with us? We will inhume him in our crypt. Vimes pointed at the body. He killed, and now he is dead, and now I must ask you to leave. Downey opened the door. Assassins lined the wide stairs. There wasn't a weapon in sight, but with assassins, there didn't need to be. At the bottom lay the body of Angua. The watchman walked down slowly, and Carrot knelt and picked it up. He nodded to Downey. Shortly, we will be sending someone to collect the body of Dr. Cruces, he said. But I thought we had agreed that. No, it must be seen that he is dead. Things must be seen. Things mustn't happen in the dark or behind closed doors. I am afraid I cannot accede to your request, said the assassin firmly. It wasn't a request, sir. Scores of assassins watched them walk across the courtyard. The black gates were shut. No one seemed about to open them. I agree with you, but perhaps you should have put that another way, said Vimes. They don't look at all happy. The door was shattered. A 6-foot iron arrow passed Carrot and Vimes and removed a large section of wall on the far side of the courtyard. A couple of blows removed the rest of the gates, and Detritus stepped through. He looked around at the assembled assassins, a red glow in his eyes, and growled. It dawned on the smarter assassins that there was nothing in their armory that could kill a troll. They had the fine stiletto knives, but they needed sledgehammers. They had darts armed with exquisite poisons, none of which worked on a troll. No one had ever thought trolls were important enough to be assassinated. Suddenly, Detritus was very important indeed. He had Cuddy's axe in one hand and his mighty crossbow in the other. Some of the brighter assassins turned and ran for it, but some were not as bright. A couple of arrows bounced off Detritus. Boing, boing. Their owners saw his face as he turned towards them and dropped their bows. Detritus hefted his club. Acting Constable Detritus! The words rang out across the courtyard. Acting Constable Detritus! Attention! Detritus very slowly raised his hand. Dink! You listen to me, Acting Constable Detritus, said Carrot. If there's a heaven for watchmen, and God's I hope there is, then Acting Constable Cuddy is there right now, drunk as a bloody monkey, with a rat in one hand and a pint of bear huggers in the other. And he's looking up at us right now, and he's saying, my friend, Acting Constable Detritus, won't forget he's a guard, not Detritus. There was a long, dangerous moment, and then another dink. Thank you, Acting Constable. You'll escort Mr. Vimes to the university. Carrot looked around at the assassins. Good afternoon, gentlemen. We may be back. The three watchmen stepped over the wreckage. Vimes said nothing until they were well out in the street, and then he turned to Carrot. Why did he call you? If you'll excuse me, I'll take her back to the watch house. Vimes looked down at Angua's corpse and felt a train of thought derail itself. Some things were too hard to think about. He wanted a nice quiet hour somewhere to put it all together. Personal isn't the same as important. What sort of person could think like that? And it dawned on him that while Ankh in the past had its share of evil rulers and simply bad rulers, it had never yet come under the heel of a good ruler. That might be the most terrifying prospect of all. Sir, said Carrot politely. We'll bury her up at Small Gods. How about that? Said Vimes. It's sort of a watch tradition. Yes, sir. You go off with Detritus. He's all right when you give him orders. If you don't mind. I don't think I'll be along to the wedding. You know how it is. Yes, of course. Carrot, Vimes blinked to drive away suspicions that clamoured for consideration. We shouldn't be too hard on Cruces. I hated the bastard like hell, so I want to be fair to him. I know what the Gone does to people. We're all the same to the Gone. I'd have been just like him. No, Captain. You put it down. Vimes smiled wanly. They call me Mr. Vimes, he said.